Well, I've been putting this off for a pretty long time now. Funny how fear and doubt and insecurity causes us to disregard our desires and visions and hopes, and sometimes maybe even just put them on the back burner, which I assume happens to everybody at some point in their life. If that's not you, then this may not be for you. My guess is I'm not alone, though. So, after a challenge from one of my brothers eating breakfast the other day, I'm going to start recording and hope that maybe somebody out there can connect with the stories or lessons learned or heartache or whatever it is you can take, however I can serve you, whoever it is, if anyone. And maybe it's just for me, and that's okay too. And I was thinking about how sometimes feeling overwhelmed, uncertain, distracted, really just unclear on what's next. Like I'm just living life, I'm floating around. What now? I tend to be someone who overthinks. I'm sure I'm the only one that overthinks things. But to try and simplify it, I think if you're in that space too, I'll offer you what I do. And that's clean out my truck. For people who, that your car is a sacred place and it's spotless and you get it detailed regularly and all that, man, I'm proud of you. But that's not me, unfortunately. I want it to be, but it's definitely not with the life things that just kind of where I'm at in this life stage right now. And it's funny, we'll talk about that a little bit more, because it hasn't always been that way, to some extent, but it also has been something I've struggled with for a long time, and that's just keeping my stuff organized. And so in my stress and anxiety and insecurity, I'm in my garage, which is a point of weakness for me, and something that I wrestle with regularly, especially with a toddler in the house, to keep it organized, to keep it making sense. And this is very similar to my truck, but it's raining outside, kind of drizzly, so we're in here. So I'm a handyman, is probably 90% of what I do now. I'm a licensed real estate agent, but before you turn off, I don't really like that. If anything, I know one or two real estate agents that I can actually tolerate to have a lengthy conversation with. And no offense to you if you're an agent. Again, I am one. I'm not trying to throw stones. Just in my background, they haven't always been upright and do things as they should. A lot of gray area in real estate sometimes, and not a lot of accountability, unfortunately. So I became one, and to try and support my family, and it's just a lot of what I know. I grew up working on houses. My dad's an investor. Uncles are investors. So they've been through all of their careers. They had their own jobs. They'd buy a house, fix it up, rent it out, every now and then flip one. And so that was a lot of my childhood. Saturdays was out working on houses, putting roofs on, swapping hot water heaters, painting, so much painting. And of course, as a kid in that space, did a lot of the grunt work. pulling out the nasty, very much stained and gross carpet in condemned houses, as you can imagine, and then pulling all the staples out with needle nose pliers. And so anyways, all that to say, that's my background, and so that's where right now I've stepped into in this season of life. A lot different than what I used to do, and what I get blessed to do every now and then, which is to guide wilderness trips in the mountains, in the desert, Grand Canyon, and kind of all out west in the Rockies, hence the backpacks hanging up there. But anyways, what pays the bills right now is remodeling houses, helping people buy and sell. And so, as a handyman, my truck is a toolbox, one giant toolbox. And because I do so many different skills and trades within one project, I have electrical tools, stuff for painting, stuff for plumbing, framing, you name it, and we do most of it ourselves. So I have a lot of stuff, a lot of crap, which, if you've been in that space before, if you are that, if you do those kinds of things, it pays to have the right thing as close to you as it can be, or you're going to be at Home Depot 3 or 4 times that day, which sometimes still just happens. Good old Home Depot or Lowe's, whatever your flavor is. Kind of depends on where the sales are, to be honest. And so with my truck, in one part of the day I might be doing electrical, another part of the day I might be doing plumbing, another part of the day might be, okay, now we're painting again. I will pull things out, and in my haste of busyness and just wanting to get it done so I can go home and I can do the things I want to do with the people that I want to do them with, my bride and my son and my friends. Sometimes I just throw it all back in the cab, in the back. I have a topper that's on the back end of my truck, and so all my toolboxes are in there, but then in my back seats I've got drop cloths down and toolboxes on top of those, and try and keep my front seat open beside me so I can put specific things that I need for the day there, my laptop maybe, or whatever it might be. But somehow, inevitably, it gets mixed up. It gets strewn around, just part of it. And my wife, she's so patient with me. Oh man, she tells me all the time, if you just put it back, if you just stop, put it back, life would be much easier. She's not wrong. Because I think about what tends to happen in my mind, my truck is just an example of what's going on internally. There's so much stuff going on in my mind and in my heart, and I don't take the time always to organize that, to put those things where they belong, prioritize them appropriately, and so it just looks like a mess. And before I know it, one day I realize my anxiety's up. I'm frustrated. I can't find what I need when I need it. I don't even remember if I have that one tool, and so I end up going to the store and buying it, and I find it a week later, and it's rolled underneath the seat, and oh, there it is. And now we've either wasted money, or most of the time I say, oh good, I got a backup, and hopefully I don't lose that one too when I need it. So I just was thinking about that, and I go back to, in a previous life, I was a fireman professionally for more than a decade. And if you ask anybody that rode on the truck with me, when I left, I was on a heavy rescue company, which was a giant toolbox. There's no water on it other than a water can, which water extinguisher for those not baptized by fire. We were the toolbox. We were the technical guys that had what we needed to address special issues and rescues. And we cross-trained with everybody, but that's just kind of what we did. That was our specialty. And when I was in that space, all my stuff was right where it was supposed to be. Every morning, especially if I drove that day, if I was standing in for the engineer, the first couple hours of my shift, and is the same way at every firehouse in the country. If you go around, somebody is taking the time to start that truck, to check those tools, to run those tools, to top off the fuel, change the oil, clean it up. If it got used last shift, got dirty, clean it up. And there's times where, like my truck now, I had to do this back then, which was funny. My personal truck would still do this, where I would get over cluttered, and then if I had the time, could make the time, I'd gut it, pull everything out, clean it, vacuum it, wipe stuff down, and then go through everything item by item. This is what should be in this box. This is what should be in that door. This is what should be in that area of my floorboard or in that compartment on the rig. But I used to do that every morning on shift. And my gear, I would lay it out. My fire boots and suspenders and everything would be laying in the exact same manner every single morning. Suspenders laid out. My hood that goes underneath my coat laying there. My coat hanging in the exact same way every single time. My radio strap, my helmet, my mask. I would check that air tank, hook it up, put pressure on my face piece, make sure it's working, top off that air tank. 100% I knew that day, that shift, everything is going to be right where it's supposed to be. It's going to work appropriately. And I know in the middle of the night or heat of the day, when the smoke's rolling, I have what I need, and I know how to get to it, how to apply it, how to use it, and then put it all back. I think, especially as a young man, and for a young man that may be listening, we got to assess what's going on in your mind, what's going on in your body and your heart. And if you got to, as best you can, pull those things out, analyze them, test those ideas, test those thoughts against safe people. That's a whole other conversation. Trusted people. And then put that where it needs to be. If it needs to be put away, put it away. If it needs to be put in the front seat so you know when you jump in there, it's right there and it's something you need to work on and process, and that needs to be front of mind, put it there. If it needs to go in a bag, inside of a box, inside of another bag, in this compartment, and with a note to go back to it, then set that reminder and go back to it. But I always know, once I've gutted that truck, I used to do this on the fire rig too, even if it was nice. There were days, if it was pouring down rain, weather's bad, we'd pick a compartment, we'd gut it, we'd clean those tools, we'd do specialty work on those tools. We would clean that compartment out, hose it out, soap, scrub it, replace the mats in it, whatever we needed to do, and then put it all back. I always felt so much better. Always felt so much better. You just feel my shoulders drop when I get in my truck in the morning and I've taken the time the day before, the night before, whatever, to clean that out, organize it, put everything away. So I'll ask the question that I'm asking myself now. I'll pose it to you. Is there too much clutter? Do the real self-care that we need, which is not to go binge and be lazy and eat junk or drink junk or hide our mind inside a relationship that's distracting. Bring that to the light. Pull it out. Bring it to the light, expose it, analyze it, and think about it. What do I need to do with this? Be intentional about that. If you're not, a week later, a couple of days later, it's going to be right back where it was, which is falling underneath the floorboard, and you don't even know it's there. You've forgotten about it. It's not there when you need it. And those visions and those hopes and dreams that you want to have happen, and maybe it's just churning inside of you and you don't even know what it is yet. Maybe. Sometimes I struggle with that. I don't really know what it is, but I know it's something. I feel it in my gut. Just a fire in there. How do I expect to know what that is and to be ready for that if I completely let my stuff fall apart and get too complex and mixed up and not put where it needs to be? And so I think, what does that look like? Practical. Get a journal. If you're not journaling, pull that thing out. Buy a cheap one at Walmart, Amazon, whatever. Even the small ones are like $1, and start writing some stuff down. Spend that morning time when you first wake up. Don't go straight to the phone. Go straight to the pad and write down anything that's bothering you. What's on your heart, what's on your mind. Slow yourself down in that space. When's the last time you were active, physically active? Mind, body, soul. Work on those things. Organize each one at a time. Pick a page in your journal. What's on my mind? Where's my spiritual life at? Everybody's got one. Even if you're running from it, it's there. And your body, what are you doing? If you think you need to go buy something to be ready, and then that's when you're going to step up and you're going to start running because I just got to get these shoes first and these, come on, man. Don't lie to yourself. Don't do it. I used to do it too. I still do sometimes. I get so in my head about, I need this one thing. Recording this right now, I've been planning to do a podcast for a while. In the last couple weeks, I've spent time looking at mics and cameras and a studio space and all this stuff. We're lying to ourselves, y'all. From Tennessee, so there's you some y'all for those that it may hit your ears a little strong. Start acting. Not acting like a movie, acting as in quit sitting on your tail like I'm doing right now here, and gut the truck out, clean it, and start putting things back where they're supposed to be. You feel lost, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like you're just floating out in outer space right now, start there. Pick a space in your house. Maybe it's your truck. I'm talking about my truck. Maybe it's your car. Maybe it's your apartment. I would say within an apartment or a house, pick a space, a dresser, a closet, a bathroom. Start there. Pull it out. Pull everything out like you're moving. Clean it all like you're about to sell it. Put back what needs to be there. Get rid of what doesn't need to be there. And start moving forward with your life. Sometimes we overcomplicate it. A lot of times we overcomplicate it. I do. But I know I always start to feel better and start to see with a little bit more clarity and vision when my physical space is a little bit more cleaned up. And then I start working on that inner space, on my mind. I start writing down. I don't know why, but sometimes I avoid journaling. And when I do, man, it doesn't take long before I eventually realize, and usually it's my bride being like, hey, babe, like, when's the last time you wrote something down? Did you write anything? You read? What are you reading today? And I've avoided it. Oh, I've been too busy doing. Man, just busy. Quit being busy. Start to be more effective and act with intentionality to work on those things. Clean it up. That's what I got for you today. I'll be back. Let me know how I can serve you.